Hello and welcome to Brewers Daily, part of the Fan Arch Podcast Network. This episode is brought to you by Kalshi. Use promo code FANARCHBASEBALL to get $10 when you trade 10. I'm Dave Gasper. A lot more to get to here on the show today. The Brewers fall in Las Vegas this time around. A lot more runs scored. Not quite as many as Monday night, but still a very big run-scoring environment in that game. Also, some injury updates on this big league club to talk about. And the Brewers have done it again, extending one of their top prospects to a long-term contract. We will get into that coming up here in the later part of the show. But to start with the big league club at present here, the Brewers gave up 5 more home runs to the Athletics in this game. Started off great. You get a Christian Yelich on base, Jackson Chourio goes yard 2-0. Okay, wow, you're feeling pretty good, but immediately the Athletics were able to answer off Robert Gasser. They end up putting 6 runs off of him through 5 innings, but just home run after home run after home run. There's no rallies here for the Athletics. It is just putting the ball in the air at a 95 mile an hour exit velocity, and it's carrying out of the ballpark. It's still, it all counts the same. You don't have to have the, super high exit velocity, but it is just part of it, playing in that ballpark out there in the desert air, and it's frustrating for all the pitchers, to say the least. But Gasser did a bit of a better job than Harrison did. Had a pretty good stretch there in the middle innings that he had, but still, the Brewers gave up enough, and then they could not get anything. They couldn't get enough going. Their rallies were largely small ball. They had the Chourio homer in the first inning. Then after that, nothing. And then when you're down a couple of runs late in the game, the Brewers struck out like the last 7 of the last 9 hitters struck out, or something like that. 8 of the last 10, 7 of the last 9, something like that. Just way too many strikeouts late in the game. You got to put the ball in play. They weren't able to do it, and that leads to a loss and a rubber match coming up here on Wednesday. But that's going to be the situation coming up here. Brandon Sproat is going to be on the mound for this game. Pat Murphy announcing his TBA starter will be Brandon Sproat for this finale. All right, let's get into the injury updates for the rest of this group. We got stuff on Brandon Woodruff, Quinn Priester, and so many more. Quinn Priester, he pitched in the Arizona Complex League game on Monday. It went horrible. 5 walks, gave up just 1 hit, but 5 walks, 73 pitches, 35 of them strikes, 3 runs. Was supposed to go 5 innings, went 2 2/3. Not great. Quinn Priester continues to struggle. It continues to be a problem. He has no command of the pitches. He also had 3 wild pitches on his ledger in that game. That's problematic. He has no idea where the ball is going. So concern there. My concern remains the same with Priester. I still think that they should shut him down and get the surgery. But the Brewers are maintaining that he's going to end up being fine and just needs to pitch through it. His next scheduled outing is going to be on the 13th, and he is supposed to go 5 innings and 70 to 75 pitches. We'll see what ultimately ends up happening with Quinn Priester in that outing, but it's unreal how much that's continuing there. But also, speaking of Arizona Complex League Brewers, Brandon Woodruff was able to start for them on Tuesday night, and his start did go quite a bit better. He was scheduled for 4 ups and 60 to 65 pitches. Makes it through 3 2/3, so he got his 4 ups and hit 68 pitches over his final at bat. So he hit his pitch limit. That's why he wasn't able to complete the 4th inning there. But just 2 walks. A couple of runs, couple of hits, gave up some contact. But the fastball velo was sitting about 88-91, topped out at 92.2 for his velocity on the fastball. So that's the hardest he threw. So the velo is looking in a much better spot than it's been before for him, and obviously where it was with the dead arm. So it's kind of back around to where he was before. And it's wondering, oh, well, he was normally averaging 92 on his fastball and could get, the 93s, 94s. Yes, but those are in major league games. And Woodruff has talked about this numerous times. When you're pitching on those rehab assignments, the same energy isn't there. The same juice isn't there, especially when you're in the Arizona Complex League. It's one thing for it to be Nashville versus Milwaukee. It's another thing for it to be the Arizona Complex League versus Milwaukee. So, massive difference there. But Woodruff was able to make it through the innings he was supposed to, make it to the pitches he was supposed to, and threw a pretty good amount of strikes as well. Also, other injury updates here. Brian Fitzpatrick, who left the game in Coors warming up, saying he felt his elbow pop and he was in some severe pain, officially diagnosed with a partial UCL sprain, a partial proximal UCL sprain, and he is currently seeking a second opinion. I don't know. The way that he talked about that injury and the way it looked more than just partial, but I'm not a doctor. But the Brewers have diagnosed it as a partial one. He is seeking a second opinion. He's debating whether or not he's going to get surgery on that. But Fitzpatrick was transferred to the 60-day IL. DL Hall, who had a left pec minor strain, went on the IL. His estimated return is late July. So that is going to be 6 weeks plus that he's out. So that is going to be tough. Logan Henderson's return has been pushed back. His projected timeline now has him returning in early July. So still another month for Logan Henderson, recovering from that low back tightness. They shut him down completely, and he's starting back up the throwing program here. He has progressed out to about 90 feet throwing the baseball, so he's working his way back to long tossing and then throwing off the mound and things like that. So that's going to take a little bit. Jared Koenig is rehabbing for the Nashville Sounds, and he was able to have his game there for them. Brandon Lockridge is scheduled to start a rehab assignment today for AAA Nashville, so he is going to head out to the Sounds and join them. He's been out in Arizona with a lot of the Brewers rehabbing group. And Rob Z met with a doctor, Dr. Pearl, Dr. Gregory Pearl was his doctor. Went to see him for an evaluation. So once he comes back, we can get an update on what the doctor said, and his return timeline is going to be based on whatever that evaluation is. So those are the injury updates that we have on these injured Brewers players and what their timelines might be coming back. So, delays in the timelines for Henderson and really, you just it's so frustrating for some of these guys to have that in DL Hall being pushed back. He's out 6 weeks. You kind of figured it would be, but still, very very frustrating for all of those guys to be out for any sort of length of time here. But it seems like Woodruff could be coming back fairly soon-ish. Priester, who knows? But there's still a lot of work to be done on that front. But Brandon Lockridge should be coming back fairly soon. All right, let's talk about how we can win some money on this game coming up here, because the Brewers have their rubber match against the Oakland Athletics, and on Kalshi you can trade every single game. So we're looking at this game. The Brewers did name Brandon Sproat their starter for this game, which it was TBD for a while there, but now Pat Murphy confirming it will be Brandon Sproat. I'm looking at the team totals here, and the Oakland A's over 6.5 runs scored is at 51%. I'm taking that. I am taking that action just with the run scoring environment that it's been, how much they've been hitting home runs, how Brandon Sproat has looked. I know I don't want to be necessarily too negative on him, but I think the smart play here is the Oakland A's over 6.5 runs scored. They had 7 in the game on Tuesday night. They had 14 the other night. They've been hitting home runs like crazy. $100 at 51% here. It's just gone up to 53%. I think perhaps the news is spreading here that that Brandon Sprout is a starter. So the Oakland A's over 6.5 runs scored at 53%. That means a $100 trade pays out $176 if it ends up hitting there. On Kalshi, you're trading against peers in a live market, meaning there's no house. And as the probability changes, you can buy in and out of your position. For a limited time, download the Kalshi app and use promo code FANARCHBASEBALL to get $10 when you trade 10, Kalshi, Kalshi, trade on anything. All right, we got to get to the big news of the day here that we got to break down. The Brewers have signed yet another prospect, Luis Lara. He has signed a 7-year contract extension, $31 million guaranteed. It can be up to a maximum of $79 million on this deal with escalators and incentives and bonuses and things like that. He's got 3 club options on the end of this deal as well. So this is carrying him well into the 2030s that he could be under contract for with the Brewers. He is just a kid there in AAA, and he has been raking for AAA Nashville. So Luis Lara, the fact that the Brewers have done this. Now, he had been out of the lineup for much of the last week for the Nashville Sounds, and everyone's kind of wondering, like, is he hurt? Why is he not in there? What is going on? And sure enough, they're putting the finishing touches on this deal and getting him to Milwaukee for a physical and getting him signed. Luis Lara this season for Nashville hitting .338, a .948 OPS, 7 homers, 19 stolen bases. The power surge has really been something to see for this year, and that maybe has kind of brought on the Brewers wanting to sign him to this extension because he's kind of been that light hitter, speedy kind of guy, hits for pretty decent-ish average. Career .270 hitter in the minors, but I mean last year he hit .257 in the Southern League, hit .245 in 2024 in High A with the Timber Rattlers. Prior to that, hitting .286 across rookie ball or across Low A and High A in 2023. So hit for pretty good averages. Never had a ton of slug, but always a ton of speed. Didn't strike out a ton. Always drew a lot of walks, which was great. So on-base threat, career .368 on-base percentage in the minor leagues. And he's just taken a huge leap forward this year. Great defender in center field. Elite defender, won a minor league gold glove. And he is just so good out there. And the Brewers have seen that, and they are investing in that. And they're getting him long-term on, if he turns out to be what they're expecting him to be, that's going to be quite the steal for Luis Lara. I mean, that's an average annual value of about $4.4 million, which, I mean, that's currently right around what you're paying Bryce Terang in his first year of arbitration. So, and you're getting that for the entirety of this deal through 2032 guaranteed. And then you have options in 2033, 34, and 35. You're getting halfway into the 2030s here, potentially, that you have this 21-year-old kid under team control. So this is really kind of insane. The Brewers have now done 3 long-term contract extensions with players who have yet to make their major league debut. I mean, that is wild. There's only been a handful of these previously in MLB history. I mean, the first one happened like a decade ago, John Singleton. That was like $10 million, and that one was an absolute bust. Then there started to be a couple more of them. Jackson Chourio, obviously one of them. Jackson Chourio set a record in terms of money for a pre-debut extension with his 8-year, $82 million deal. So the fact that the Brewers did that, and then they do the 8-year, $50 million deal with Pratt, and now they're doing this one with Luis Lara. I mean, in pretty quick succession here. Cooper Pratt was 2 months ago. And now we got Luis Lara under contract as well. The Brewers are identifying the pieces of their core, and they are locking them up. Perhaps before it's too late. But also, you don't know what's going to be coming with the salary cap and floor, if that ends up coming to fruition, because you wonder what's going to happen with William Contreras or Bryce Terang. And, obviously with those guys, I think it would take a salary floor for the Brewers to actually be able to sign them to a deal at this point. especially with how much the Brewers are investing in their young guys that are pre-debut. Turang it may already be completely too late for, unless that salary floor comes in and the Brewers have to spend an extra $30 million. Where are you going to spend it? Probably there. So, you can look there, but also just in terms of the immediate roster construction, Luis Lara is not getting called up immediately here. He was placed on the 40-man roster, but he is not getting called up immediately, similar to Cooper Pratt. Cooper Pratt should be up soon. He homered again on Tuesday night for the Nashville Sounds. He's got a 900 plus OPS over his last 20 games. He's hitting pretty well. I think it's probably close to time here. But anyways, I digress. In terms of Luis Lara fitting into this roster picture, the Brewers aren't going to want to call him up until there is some regular playing time available to him. And with Jackson Chourio being where he is, with Garrett Mitchell, with Jake Bauers playing as well as he has, with Sal Frelick in there, I don't really see the regular playing time at present for Luis Lara. So he's going to be down there for a little bit until that opportunity arises. You do kind of wonder about Garrett Mitchell, the long-term plans there, because Mitchell is your incumbent center fielder. He's had the injury issues. He has the strikeout issue. I mean, he's been healthy this year, which has been great, but he still has kind of the strikeout issues that he's dealing with. And you just kind of wonder if they're just kind of waiting for that time, because now the clock is going to be ticking a little bit on Garrett Mitchell, more so than it has before, really. Just like the clock is ticking on Luis Rengifo. Just like the clock is ticking on Joey Ortiz on the left side of that infield with Cooper Pratt signed to an extension and knocking down the door. The clock is ticking, and you got to be able to perform in order to keep your job. So those guys are basically one injury away from losing their job, absolutely. But especially left side of the infield, they are very close to losing some jobs over there. But Luis Lara, just incredibly excited to see it. And then kind of the inevitable question, who's next? Right? I mean, the Brewers did this with Cooper Pratt, and then it's like, okay, well, who's next? Well, Luis Lara's been off to a great start. Luis Lara was next. Okay, well, who's next after that? Who could it be? I still think it's probably going to be Jesus Made, who ends up getting signed to a deal at some point here. Now, Made is in Double-A. I'm not sure that the Brewers would necessarily do it now. I mean, they've been doing it with these guys in AAA. So maybe something kind of at the end of the year or into the early part of the offseason, similar to what they did with Jackson Chourio. I think that could be a still pretty likely timeline. But hey, with how aggressive the Brewers have been, with the lockout coming up in December, they may face a little bit more of a protracted timeline there and want to jump on that a little bit earlier. So who knows? Maybe we could see a Jesus Made one before the season is even over. That could be a possibility to look at here, but I think he is certainly in line. Luis Pena, I think, is still too far away at this point. Plus, he's had the illness bouts and the kind of dehydration issues, so that's kind of slowed him down a little bit. Jet Williams has been struggling a little bit, so I don't think they're going to go that route. And you don't want to get locked in too much on some of these guys, because, I mean, you already have Chourio locked in the outfield. You have Lara locked in the outfield. So you don't want to necessarily lock in three guys to extensions in the outfield there. You want to kind of leave one spot open, kind of change guys out, see who's performing, things like that. So that's where I think, I mean, it's going to be done on the outfield set for quite a while. And the infield, I mean, potentially too. I mean, this may be it for them for the regular season here. I mean, Lara's obviously come on strong this season, and they're expecting Pratt to be a big part of this future. But they may just kind of pause it after this and just kind of wait and see what happens with the CBA negotiations. I think Made is the only potential exception to that. In terms of your big league guys, like your Bryce Trangs, like your William Contrerases, I think that's going to have to wait and see what happens with the CBA, if there's any possibility of it. I know some are probably going to be screaming for Jacob Misiorowski to get an extension. I'm not expecting it, just with what pitching is, and just how injuries are such a part of the game for those guys. Even as much as they love Misiorowski, even as good as he is, as dominant as he is and can be going forward, I just don't see the Brewers investing in pitching in that way. Because the way he's been pitching right now, if you want to sign Misiorowski to a deal, it is going to cost you an arm and a leg. it is going to be quite a bit if you want to sign him long term. I just don't envision the Brewers doing that. I think that is also something that would have to wait until you get to a cap and floor system, and then the Brewers maybe would have to change how they do things financially. But the way things are currently set up, I do not see a Mizrowski extension happening at all. I think we're going to be continuing to look at these young guys, the prospects coming up, identify who you believe is going to be a stud going forward, and lock them in as best you can. They have done that with Churio, they have done that with Pratt, and now they have done that with Luis Lara. So it's an exciting time. You know the future is going to include some of these young stars, and I'm super excited for it, and I can't wait for them to get here. Pratt and Lara both. I think they're going to provide a lot of fun and be really great players going forward. So Matt Arnold after it again, and he's after a third straight Executive of the Year award with these extensions and what he's doing for this group. So we'll see if the Brewers can close the deal on this Oakland A's series and see if they can close the deal on any more extensions as things go along here. But we'll be breaking it down every single step of the way here on Brewers Daily. Also follow me on Twitter at dgasper24. Appreciate all of you watching and listening, and we'll see you again next time for another episode of Brewers Daily.